Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And after the elation of midweek and going through to the last day of the Champions League, Chelsea are back in Premier League action this weekend, heading to the King Power Stadium tomorrow to take on Leicester City, looking to make it 3 wins in a week, back-to-back Premier League victories, and still searching for a first away win since Villa Park back in October. So, we've picked up a Premier League win, which is great. We've got through in the Champions League, fantastic. Now, to keep taking those small steps, we need to try and get that first away win since we won 2-0 up at Aston Villa back in October. That's the next step for Graham Potter and the boys to take. Obviously, the trip to Leicester will be a tough one. Leicester struggling, a couple of points above the relegation zone, but they got some decent players, the likes of James Maddison, Harvey Barnes, Tete, the winger from Lyon that came in January, all doing pretty well. So, yeah, it's not going to be an easy task. The Blues have got no Reece James because he's ill. Mason Mount's still out injured. Raheem Sterling, a doubt with some hamstring tightness. I doubt he'll feature. Certainly don't think he'll start. Aubameyang, not too much of an issue because he's not really featured much. And Kante, it's still too soon for him. In terms of N'Golo Kante, Graham Potter saying in the press conference today that looking at trying to get him back for the Everton game next weekend to play some sort of part in that. But yeah, big up everyone that's tuning in. Make sure you smash the likes on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And remember, guys, you can donate using the super chat function as well to guarantee that your comment gets read out. So however generous you're feeling, doesn't really matter how big or small a donation is. All donations to the channel are greatly appreciated. So you can donate via that super chat function. And also feel free to check out the opposition preview for the Leicester perspective on this game with Jack from the Final Whistle, which is now up on the channel. So go and check that out. But let's get into some Chelsea news then before we get into the game itself. And it wouldn't be a Chelsea stream without discussing Mason Mount and his contract. News coming out yesterday from Jacob Steinberg reporting that that Mount could be available for around £50 million, and it's increasingly likely he leaves Chelsea. Chelsea's latest offer was understood to be worth around £180,000 per week. Now, we know because David Ornstein reported the news a while back now, a few weeks or a month or so ago now, maybe, that Mount had rejected multiple offers last summer and another offer had been rejected before the World Cup. Obviously, this news here will be referring, I imagine, to the contract offer before the World Cup, £180,000. I don't know if that's base or if that's with performance added bonuses on top or not. That information's not been revealed, but in terms of that money, obviously, it's a huge improvement on his current wages of 75 grand a week. But Mounts wants the loyalty that he's shown the club to be reciprocated to him numerically. At the moment, Reece James obviously signed a new deal worth about £250,000 a week. I don't think Mount wants the same amount of money as him, but he wants kind of parity. I think a deal more towards the 200, maybe £210,000 a week. You could argue all day about whether you think he's worth that money, whether he deserves that money or not. But I suppose if you look at the bigger picture, what he's contributed to Chelsea during his time here, minus this season, back-to-back player of the year, and people will say, oh, yeah, everyone else was pretty shit in those, or whatever they want to say. The fact of the matter is he's won back-to-back player of the year awards. He's done well for the club. He's been pretty instrumental in the success that the club have had in over recent years, and he deserves money that reciprocates what he's done on the pitch when he's been delivering more than most over the past couple of years, whilst on significantly less money. Less than half of what Havertz is on, Loftus-Cheek, Kepa, to name just a few. So I can understand that him wanting an increase in money. I think that's perfectly fair. The issues, as I've said on many streams, are 1, length of contract, 2, money, and 3, kind of image rights as well. Obviously, negotiations are on hold now until the summer. His dad now represents him, Tony. So it's a change of representatives there. Hopefully in the summer, that means that a deal can be done. And I think it would make sense to keep Mason Mount around the place, not necessarily as a starter because he doesn't warrant that just yet because of his form this season. But I really do think that it would be a mistake to let him go. I think he could be a valuable squad member. Again, that homegrown status counts as a homegrown player, of course, being English, coming through the academy. And, those spots can be hard to fill in a Premier League squad. So just even from that perspective, he'd be worth keeping around. And I think, he's a good footballer. He's proven that he can perform for Chelsea. He's going for a tough patch right now, like all players do. And he needs our support. And I certainly wouldn't be wishing him, I certainly wouldn't be celebrating him leaving. I think I'd be disappointed. 50 million quid. I think we could probably get a bit more for him than that. Maybe more towards 60, possibly at a push 70 million. 24 years of age, a back-to-back Chelsea Player of the Year, and an England international, a proven Premier League player. Yes, a couple of years left on the contract, but I think we could definitely get more than 50 million from him. I mean, if Everton are bidding 45 million for Conor Gallagher, then for Mason Mount, you could definitely get at least 60 million. I would like to think. But yeah, that's kind of the latest with the Mason Mount situation. Nothing's really changed. Just information coming out that, we know that the likes of Liverpool are interested, probably Manchester United as well, maybe Manchester City, maybe Arsenal, and that tells you something, that the top Premier League clubs want Mason Mount because he's a good player. Some section of the Chelsea fan base will have you believe he's like a virus, he's toxic, he's this, he's that. No, with no evidence to support those claims whatsoever. So, yeah, that's where we're at with Mount. 2 years left on the contract, and the summer's make or break. He either signs a new deal or he's being moved on. It's kind of as simple as that. But yeah, just my thoughts really. It would be a shame if he were to leave, and I think we would regret it. I don't think in terms of regressing it like a Kevin De Bruyne or a Mohamed Salah situation, but I think it would be a mistake on behalf of the club not to get Mount tied down to a new deal. I fully understand that 24 years of age, not wanting to commit your future on a 7 or 8 year contract, which takes you into your 30s, the prime years of your career, to be at Chelsea. But a 4 or 5 year deal, I don't see why there would be anything wrong with that length of extension. But yeah, I mean, Potter was asked today about Mount's contract, and as you'd expect from Graham Potter, kind of a typical response from him. I'm not naive, and I know it's an important contract for him. These things have to be right for him and his family, and it's important he makes a decision on that basis. And Potter added that he wants to stay out of it as it's complicated. And I think that's totally fair enough. I mean, as a manager, it's not your job to get involved in contract decisions. You leave that with the owners, you leave that with the representatives, the player, and whatnot. And your job is to just get on with things on the pitch. But what Potter says is right. It's an important contract for him. It could be the biggest contract that he signs in his career, for sure. Let's make no mistake about it. It could easily be the biggest contract of his career, and everything needs to be right. So if he's not feeling loved at Chelsea, or he doesn't feel that he's being valued in what he's being offered, then I don't have an issue with him wanting to go elsewhere or looking to go elsewhere with the kind of the hate he's taking from his own fan base and whatnot. I wouldn't blame him for wanting to move on and maybe wanting to seek a new challenge, fresh start, etc. But look, I think for what it's worth, I think it's definitely worth keeping him around. And let's see what happens with it in the summer. At the moment, no one's speaking too much about him. He's not in the team. He's been out injured the last couple of games. We're not missing him. It's fair to say. And the players have stepped up in his absence and have put together a couple of good results. So Mount will be back probably for Everton next weekend. Let's kind of see what happens when he starts playing for the club again. But yeah, personally for me, I think it would be a mistake if we did let him leave. I really do think that wouldn't be the best thing to do. Of course, let's move on to a little bit more transfer news. And Luke Edwards yesterday in the Telegraph reporting that Chelsea did inquire in January about Newcastle midfielder Bruno Guimaraes and are likely to go back in the summer. However, the chances of him leaving this year are virtually nil. Well, that sounds like challenge accepted for Bowley, Eghbali, Winstanley and co. No, it's clear that Chelsea are obviously in the market for another midfield player. Got Enzo Fernandez in January. Still need to complete that midfield revamp. There's question marks over the future of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, of Conor Gallagher, of Mateo Kovacic. Kante still not signed the new deal, even though all indications are pointing that he will extend his stay at the club. There's about 2, 3, 4 midfielders that could easily leave the club this summer. And we still need another midfielder to come in terms of someone quality to either partner Enzo in a pivot or to make up the bulk of that 3-man midfield, if that's what we decide to go with. Guimaraes has done very well at Lyon, a Brazilian international. He's done really well since he's come to Newcastle. I think Newcastle paid about 45 million pounds for him. And they certainly, whilst they're kind of challenging for the top 4 places of the European places, making domestic cup finals, he's going to be a really important part of their new project. And they certainly won't want to lose him. But at the same time, money talks in this game. Chelsea are a step up from Newcastle, no two ways about it, even though Newcastle may well be doing better than us this season. And I think a player of Bruno Guimaraes' calibre, his quality, I think he'd do really well in that midfield. Him and Enzo as those 8s with maybe a Zakaria or a Rice holding, for example, would be a really strong midfield for many, many years to come. Yeah, big up Ashraf. Yeah, we do need a couple more midfielders, as I said, likes of Loftus-Cheek, Gallagher, maybe Mount leaves as well. Kovacic, question marks over his future. There's 3 or 4 players that could be out the door in that midfield area, and they need to be replaced. The problem, as you say, is they're very expensive. And for the quality that we need to go straight into the first team and be a mainstay in this side for a number of years moving forward, you're looking at midfield players that are going to be costing you 60, 70 million pounds upwards. Guimaraes, Rice, and then you're looking at maybe Kone at Mönchengladbach, perhaps on the next rung down. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens with that one. But it's clear that Chelsea are fans of Bruno Guimaraes. Newcastle certainly won't want to lose him, and it's certainly one to watch in the summer. It really is, because you just never know. You never know what might happen in the summer, and what Chelsea can do. You know to expect the unexpected when following Chelsea, and particularly in the transfer market as well. Sticking with the transfer market, more news on number 9 targets for Chelsea as well. With Jacob Steinberg, same report. With Chelsea intend to keep spending, and they have looked at Victor Osimhen as Graham Potter wants a striker to add to Christopher Nkunku's arrival. Now, obviously, not a surprise that Chelsea looking to still spend the money. Yes, it won't be as free. We won't be spending as freely as we have done, because we've got to balance the books. A number of players will be leaving the club in the summer, so make no mistakes about it. Chelsea will spend money, but a large amount of that money will also be recouped through player sales. You only have to look at the likes of Hakim Ziyech, Pulisic, maybe Kai Havertz, Gallagher, Loftus-Cheek. There's about 200-300 million pounds, 250 million pounds there in assets that we can sell. There's plenty of players that need to be moved on, plenty of players that we can get off the books, and a number 9 is a really interesting position, because it's clear as day that Chelsea 100% do need a number 9, do need someone that can put the ball in the back of the net, a goal scorer. You only have to look at our season so far and over the last couple of years to realise that we don't have someone that consistently puts the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis. We've not had the best of records when signing strikers. So let's wait and see what happens on that. I mean, I don't know what the thinking is here, because obviously Nkunku's coming in the summer, fantastic. What we're going to do with João Felix? Is Kai Havertz going to stay? But we do need a 9. I mean, what's going to happen with Romelu Lukaku? Is he going to come back? There's so many unanswered questions. But I mean, Victor Osimhen, you look at him, phenomenal football player, having a great season at Napoli. I think Napoli they might have spent about 70 million pounds on him, or 50-60 million pounds on him when they signed him from Lille a few years back. He's having a fantastic season this season. His goals firing Napoli well clear at the top of Serie A. Look like they're on for a first Serie A title since the Diego Maradona days. Him and Kvaratskhelia have been superb. For Spalletti's men, they're doing really well in Serie A. They're doing well in the Champions League. He would be a great signing. Again, it's going to cost north of £100 million, and I'm always skeptical when Chelsea are linked with spending money on big money on centre forwards, because you just don't know how it's going to turn out. More often than not, it really hasn't worked out for us. It's as simple as that. It just hasn't worked out for us in the past. But at some point your luck has to change. But you just look at the strikers we've had over the years that we spent big money on, the likes of Lukaku, Werner, whilst not really a centre forward, that hasn't worked out at all. You look at Shevchenko, Torres, Higuain, Morata. These are all players that have had very, very good careers. Chelsea have spent big money on them, and it just has not worked out at all. So I'm slightly reserved. Yes, of course, I'd love, in theory, Victor Osimhen at Chelsea, but how does that fit in? How does that fit in with the likes of Nkunku? Is there kind of a partnership to be created there? We're going to stick with a back five next season, or we're going to revert to a back four. There's so many unanswered questions, but yes, I would of course love Victor Osimhen. The price concerns me a little bit, and just our track record of players of signing centre forwards for big money is not a good one. So we'll have to wait and see what happens on that. But it's clear in the summer that Chelsea will be in for a number 9. It just depends who that number 9 is going to be. Is it going to be Vlahovic? Will it be Osimhen? Will it be Ivan Toney? Will it be someone completely different? Will we not go for a big name? Will we go for someone on the next rung down? Maybe a Kolo Muani from Eintracht Frankfurt, France international, having a very good season. Could we look to perhaps do something different in that regard? Mount and Havertz out and Nkunku, Osimhen in. I mean, yeah, look, that wouldn't be a bad situation to find ourselves in, but I think the reality of the situation is that that's very unlikely to happen. I would be shocked if Mount and Havertz left in the same summer. I mean, I really would, but you can't rule it out, of course, but I would find that very unlikely to say the least. Varna, big up. Go for a 2-0 win. I mean, that would be nice to follow on from Tuesday night. As I said, first away win since fucking October. It's been so long on the road. We've been hammered at Brighton. We've lost at Newcastle. We've lost at Fulham. We've had draws at Brentford. Things have not been good for us on the road. Obviously, lost in Dortmund as well in the Champions League. We've really struggled away from home this season, so it would be really timely to make it 3 wins on the spin and pick up another result on Saturday. But let's see what happens. We will stick with a back 3 next season because we have too many attacking players. Well, I think the plan is long term to revert to the back 4, but again, it depends how many attackers we sell. Pulisic, Ziyech, definitely 2 in my opinion that will leave. Aubameyang will leave as well. That's a 3. That's Fofana, I think, will go on loan. So that's 4 out the door for next season. So there is space, and Nkunku comes in. That's 1. Felix out. Maybe he comes in on a permanent. Who knows? So let's wait and see. But there's no doubt about it. It's one thing's for certain is that for the short term and the rest of the season, we have to go the back 5 because that's what's going to get us the best results. Prefer Vlahovic. If not, I'd keep Havertz and let Broja come back to the team. To be honest, I completely forgot about Broja. Broja's going to have to build himself back in. I actually think Broja would have been a player that would have played a lot of football this season under Graham Potter if it wasn't for his injury. I think it's kind of the profile, quick, tall, physical presence that Potter would have liked to have used. I think he would have played a lot more than I think he would have played a lot. I think he would have played over Havertz in certain points of the season. But yeah, we've got Vlahovic. I mean, I don't mind Vlahovic again, young, Serie A, Juventus, do it, having a half-decent season, well thought of, was close to joining Arsenal before he joined Juve. But yeah, let's wait and see. Yeah, I agree. I think it will be a tough game tomorrow, despite Leicester languishing down near the relegation zone. I think they are better than what their position suggests. There is more quality there. James Maddison is one to watch out for. He's a fantastic football player, really good player. Harvey Barnes is a threat, as is the winger Tete that they signed on loan in January. So there are some threats there. At the back, they're a bit suspect. Danny Ward in goal's not the best. Wout Face, Suter. Whether they go over the 3 with Johnny Evans or Soyuncu. You can get at them you can get at them on a defensively. They leak a lot of goals. They do let a lot of goals in. So that's something that we can hopefully take advantage of ourselves. Defensively, we are very good. But it's more going forward where we need to improve massively. Even on Tuesday night against Dortmund, yes, we scored twice, but we had two massive slices of luck. Let's be perfectly honest. A retake on a penalty, and it's lucky that Sterling's complete miss kick somehow ended up coming back to him, and he converted the rebound. So, we do need to improve in front of goal. Would you rest Enzo tomorrow for Zakaria or Gallagher? No, I wouldn't personally do that. We've had enough time to recover. Wednesday, Thursday, for 3 days. Plus, we're then not playing again till next weekend, 5:30 kickoff against Everton. So we've got a week to recover after this game. So no, I personally wouldn't be looking to rest our best players. Definitely not. That's just my opinion on the matter. Let's get into the team news then, guys. Keep smashing the likes on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Feel free to check out the opposition preview as well with Leicester fan Jack from the Final Whistle, which is up on the channel now. And remember, guys, you can also donate via that super chat function as well. Any donation, no matter how big or small, is greatly appreciated by myself and the channel. So please feel free to donate via that super chat function, guys. But yeah, let's get into the team news. I'm going with the back five still, even though Reece James is out with illness. It makes sense to stick with the back five 100%. Would you rest Enzo tomorrow? No, I've already read that. Sorry. Back five for me all day, even despite Reece James being out, despite a few injuries here and there. We've got 2 wins since we're 2 from 2 since reverting back to that back three. So it makes no sense, in my opinion, to be changing away from a winning formula, a successful formula. Wins have been few and far between this season. Makes absolutely zero sense, in my opinion, to be changing away from this back three system. But yeah, guys in the chat, feel free to get involved with your selections. For me, well, I mean, obviously, Kepa's going to play in goal. I don't know what's happened to Mendy. He seems to have been out with a broken finger for the longest time possible. Not really sure what's going on there with him. Varna, thank you, bro. Yeah, I'll be at the King Power tomorrow. So yeah, fan cams after the game for our instant reaction after the match. Make sure you check those out. And yeah, cheers, appreciate it. I'll keep the same lineup apart from Loftus-Cheek and Mudryk for James and Sterling. Yeah, that's pretty much what I would go with. Back three, obviously Wesley Fofana returning to Leicester for the first time since his move last summer. I don't think he is going to get a particularly good reception on his return to the King Power Stadium. Obviously, didn't leave in the best circumstances, refusing to play, not turning up to training. That's not going to have been appreciated by the Leicester faithful. So we've got to make sure that we support Fofana tomorrow as best we can, because it's going to be a pretty tough reception for him. But he'll be expecting it. He's a big lad. He knows how the game works, and yeah, he acted the way that he did. He got his move. He's been fantastic for us. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty tough reception for him. In the middle of the back three is going to be Kalidou Koulibaly, who, since Thiago Silva picked up that injury at Tottenham, has really come into his own. Looking like the player that we actually spent the money on from Napoli. It's been a tough start for him, but he's kind of growing into it now. And I think he's thriving on that responsibility to kind of leading the line, being the go-to guy in that back line, and he's been really good these past couple of games. Leeds and Dortmund, he's played really well. So let's hope his form continues. But yeah, he'll be in the middle of that back three. Yes, big up, mate. Up the Chelsea 100%. Then left-hand side, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because for me, Badia Shield doesn't deserve to be dropped. Didn't play in midweek because he's not in the Champions League squad. Cucurella stepped in, was fantastic. man of the match, really good performance. And you can't really drop him after a man of the match performance in the Champions League against Dortmund. But then it's really tough on Badiashile as well. So this is where it's a bit of a difficult decision to make here, because Badiashile doesn't deserve to be dropped either. The only option you could have is if Potter decides that Chilwell minutes need to be managed a bit, having played 90 in the last 2 games. I'm not really too sure, but I mean, as harsh as it sounds, I think Badiashile is going to have to miss out for me. I wouldn't be making any changes in that back 3. I mean, as much as I love Badiashile and he's done so well, you really can't drop Cucurella after his man of the match performance and after him being out the team for 3 games, to then come back in, drop a man of the match performance, and then find yourself back on the bench would be extremely harsh, and it wouldn't be good for him. In terms of, I think there's definitely a possibility of that. I would certainly agree on that front. But yeah, let's wait and see what happens on that one. Yes, Pez Lord, big up my guy. Badiashile, he could play in the middle, but again, Koulibaly's been doing really well. So, and you don't want to mess around too much at the back. You know, if things are going well and we're keeping clean sheets, then I don't think we should be messing about with the lineup too much. So I would stick with the same lineup, as harsh as it is on Badiashile. That's just the way it's going to be, unfortunately, in my team selection. Obviously, I'd love it if he does play. But yeah, of course, another option could be that Chilwell gets rested, Cucurella goes to left wing back, and Badiashile plays on the left of that back 3. That is also another option. Is that 2 positions, the left centre back and one of the forwards? I don't really understand that. Maybe Varner, if you could explain that. I don't really get what you're trying to say there. Or maybe I'm being stupid. Daniel, big up, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, right wing back then. Obviously, no Reece James through illness. I would play Loftus-Cheek here. I know Azpilicueta is obviously back in contention after that concussion at Southampton. I don't want to see him play at wing back. He hasn't got the legs anymore to get up and down the pitch. And Azpilicueta at right wing back in 2023 just isn't it. Chalobah, you could make a case for it, although he doesn't really appear to be in favour under Graham Potter. So, yeah. And when he has come on, he came on against Southampton, I think, and he actually went to centre-back, and I think Fofana went out to that right wing-back slot. So I don't think he particularly fancies him at right wing-back. At right-back, it's a different conversation, but I think at right wing-back doesn't really make too much sense there. So Loftus-Cheek, for me, to slot back in there, did a good job there against Leeds, and I think he can do a similar job to a similar standard against Leicester tomorrow. So I would revert back to Ruben at right wing back there. Moving across to the left-hand side, it's got to be Ben Chilwell, another player returning to Leicester, another player that the Leicester fans don't view too highly after his £50 million departure a few seasons ago. So, yeah, I mean, Chile been fantastic, unlike really disappointing when he picked up that ACL injury, even more disappointing when he picks up that hamstring injury against Zagreb back in November, and he was out for a number of months. So that was disappointing, but last 2 games he's been back to his best, and it's no coincidence that he's returned to his best form whilst playing in the back 3. Make no mistake about it, the back 3 gets the best out of what we've got. Chilwell and James, as we know, James is not playing tomorrow, but Chile, fantastic to see him back to his best, and he's going to be really important for us as we try and progress as far as we can in the Champions League and try and move as high up the table as we can. Would Ruben handle Barnes? Yeah, that would be tricky. Let's make no mistake about it. That would be tough. But I think with the back 3, with Fofana, with maybe Kovacic as Zakaria as well to help cover him off, I think we'd be able to contain Barnes. I don't think Barnes is a good player, but I don't think he's somewhat that we're going to struggle to contain. Left centre-back, Cucurella or Badiashile, and the forward, because Felix and Havertz will certainly start. Sterling is out, so it's either Mudryk, Pulisic, Ziyech, or Madueke. Yeah, no, it is. And let's kind of let's see what happens with that. Obviously, Madueke's 21st birthday today. He's not played for a couple of games now. Or did he come on against? I think he did come on against Leeds, if I remember correctly. But yeah, obviously not involved in the week because he's not in the Champions League squad. But yeah, that's the back five that I'd go with. In midfield, obviously, it's going to be Enzo. Great game Tuesday night, and he's really starting to come into his own now, kind of showing the obvious quality that we know he's got and that we know he possesses. So yeah, Enzo to continue in the middle for sure. Alongside him is where it gets interesting because Kovacic has started and played the last couple of games, but I don't know what his fitness is like. Whether Potter's going to start him for a third game in a row. I know, is it really much point changing it? I think not. I'd be tempted to go Zakaria in this game, and I do really want to see an Enzo Zakaria pivot, but let's kind of see what happens. I personally would like to see the Zakaria pivot. I mean, there are shouts for a possible Conor Gallagher start, but I almost feel that Graham Potter actually prefers using Gallagher from the bench to use his energy and his running around as a bit of an out ball when to try and see a game out, or if we're struggling and we just need to get out the pitch and whatnot. I think he maybe actually prefers him coming off the bench. I personally would go with Zakaria tomorrow for me. Even though he's not a 200k player, I'm fully on board to give him that much and keep him at the club. I love Mount. He's a good player. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, as long as he's performing well, which at the moment he's not, but if he does continue to perform well, then I haven't got a problem with giving him that money. But as I say, let's see kind of how that one pans out. Yeah, so we've obviously got Enzo in the middle there. I'm personally going to go Zakaria just for a bit more physicality, a bit more box to box, and just to freshen things up a little bit in the middle of the park. But I do probably expect Kovacic to start this game, if we're being honest. And if I could spell, it would be really useful. Right. So I'm going Enzo and Zakaria in the middle, although it probably will be Kova, and I wouldn't be disappointed if it would be Kova. Yeah, I think Kepa probably will be the captain. Yeah, if Kovacic doesn't start, Kepa will be the skipper. Which, yeah, I mean, quite some turnaround as well. And he's having a fantastic season. He really is. And I saw a stat today actually saying that Kepa is actually only one clean sheet behind Thibaut Courtois in terms of clean sheets kept at home for Chelsea. I think is the stat. I'll just try and quickly find it now so I can read it out. Where are we? Yeah, Kepa's played 147 games at Stamford Bridge, 57 clean sheets. Courtois played 158 games at the Bridge, 58 clean sheets. So Kepa's played 9 games less, and he's 1 clean sheet behind Courtois. So it's about time people started putting a little bit of respect on Kepa's name. Bar the Lampard season, Kepa's been where he didn't do well. Kepa's been faultless for Chelsea. He really has, pretty much. Yeah, he's made a couple of errors this season, particularly against City and Fulham, but he's bounced back from those errors, and he really has been ever reliable in the Chelsea goal, and he's not put a foot wrong, really, fully repaying Graham Potter's faith in him. So, yeah, long may that continue. Let's move on to the forward line then. And Raheem Sterling, it looks like, is going to be out, or certainly is not going to start this game. I mean, I'd be surprised if he did, given what Potter said about him in the press conference. But yeah, let's see how that one plays out. But it's obviously going to be. I mean, we know Felix is going to be one of these positions for sure. And one thing about Felix is we know his quality and we know he's going to start because we've signed him to play and we signed him to obviously start. But he needs to do more over the course of 90 minutes. He starts games when he's influential, but he always fades the further into the game we get. And we just need a little bit more from him in terms of being a threat for a more consistent period of the game for longer than just kind of a half or 30 minutes. We need him to be more influential, like 60, 70 minutes influence in a game. That's going to be that's the real aim and what we would obviously love to see. But yeah, João Felix is definitely going to start. Ashraf, there's no way Ziyech starts. I'd be shocked if he starts. I really would be. He's not part of the club's plans for the future. He doesn't want to be here. I'd be shocked if he starts. I mean, part of me would quite like to see Madueke start, but I just can't see it happening unless he doesn't play Mudryk again and he goes Felix on that left-hand side with Madueke on the right, which is a possibility. But yeah, Felix is definitely going to take one of those things. Look, Felix is very good, but we know full well that even if he wasn't playing well, he would still be starting because we've signed him on loan. We've paid a sizable loan fee for a small amount of time. He's going to start every game pretty much. I think it's obvious, and we do know that. And he has got quality, but as I said, he just needs to be a bit more influential for longer periods of the game. Moving to the left-hand side, I mean, Potter was speaking today on Mudryk because Mudryk's been an unused sub for the last couple of games. They've only got 10 minutes against Spurs. He certainly comes into the equation in terms of selection tomorrow. He's a player we believe in a lot. He's adapting to a new situation. When he arrived, he was basically at the start of a pre-season. To hit the Premier League running is not easy to do. And I get that. And I think it can be smart management to slightly hold back a player like Potter did with Cucurella, leaving him out of the squad for 3 games, then bringing him back in. I think it could have a similar effect with Mudryk. And, I don't think there's anything to worry about. It's a player that Chelsea believe in. He's here for the long term. And as you say, new country starting in a new league and whatnot. He's not just going to come in and instantly hit the ground running, having not played any football since November, having been plying his trade in the Ukrainian league, which, no disrespect, is nowhere near the quality of the Premier League. That's for sure. But I think tomorrow is Mudryk's time is coming. I'm going to go with Mudryk on this left-hand side. And I think it's going to be a really big game for him tomorrow. I'm hoping he starts, and I'm hoping that he kind of steps up to be counted. Yeah, I think Chelsea will take a decision at the end of the season. I think the club do like Felix. They're a fan of him, but let's see what Atletico Madrid are asking for fee-wise, and whether it's a viable option for us, considering the money that we need to still spend in other areas. There's also a possibility that Pulisic could start, although he's played very few minutes. Those minutes that he got, I think 10 or so minutes against Dortmund in midweek, were his first minutes for quite a while. I think first minutes since January. So yeah, there's an outside chance, but I would be surprised if he started, for sure. I really would be. So then obviously through the middle is going to be not for me, mate. Not for me. Hasn't played enough football. I think it's a bit soon in the rehabilitation process to stick him back in straight away. Maybe he gets half an hour from the bench or something like that to build his minutes back up. But I certainly wouldn't be starting him. And then through the middle, we have Kai Havertz. Now, I know I've been very critical of Havertz on this channel, like a lot of Chelsea fans have been critical of Kai. But on Tuesday night, we saw an exceptional performance, arguably his best performance in a Chelsea shirt. And that's now the standard. That's what we expect from Havertz. We know it's not going to happen every week, but that is the standard. We know what you're capable of. You've shown us what you can do, but we just haven't seen it on a consistent enough basis. And I just worry that Havertz is going to be a moments player that turns up and produces a big moment when it's required, but actually week in, week out, the nitty-gritty of the Premier League, when you need him to perform, it's just not really going to happen. And, fantastic performance, as I said, on Tuesday night, but I haven't actually got any faith in Havertz to produce an anywhere decent performance tomorrow against Leicester, just because he's given us no indication during his time at Chelsea that he can be consistent in back-to-back games, or that he can up his levels in the Premier League. I mean, yes, he does tend to sometimes go on a run in the second half of the season around March or April time. Maybe we'll see that again. Who knows? But yeah, look, he was outstanding in midweek. It's probably his best performance of the season. But at the same time, Havertz, consistency is the big thing with Havertz, and we just have not seen anywhere near any level of consistency during his whole time at Chelsea so far. But I would start him again because he had a fantastic game in midweek. This is a different lineup. If they're all up for form, should be easy win. There's no easy wins in the Premier League, but with Leicester hovering just above the relegation zone, leaking goals for fun, they did batter Tottenham 4-1 at the King Power not so long ago. So we have got to be careful because they have got a performance in their locker and they can pull it out. But let's see what happens. But I do feel reasonably confident we can get our first away win since October. Left-hand side looks good. Cucurella, Chilwell, Mudryk. I mean, we could be definitely cooking on that left-hand side for sure. But yeah, that's my team that I'd like to see tomorrow. I can't wait until we get striker in the summer. Yeah, Havertz is not really. Yeah, I do agree. Havertz is not good enough to lead the line on a consistent basis, even though he can pull a very good performance out the bag every now and then. He's not the consistent answer. That's certainly for sure. But that's the team that I would go with. Remember, guys, keep smashing the likes on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And remember, you can also donate to the channel via the super chat function. Any donation would be greatly appreciated, no matter how big or small. So, yeah, that's the team that I go with. All that remains now to be done is a score prediction. I feel more confident than I felt in Chelsea for a while, having now got back-to-back wins, but it's also aware that it's going to be a big test. Can we follow up that Dortmund game and be up for a Premier League game? It's all very well getting up for the big nights under the lights in the Champions League, but can you get up for your games week in, week out in the Premier League? And so far, we've not really seen that this season. This would be a big moment. We need to follow up that Dortmund win. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Chelsea win. First away win since October, making it 3 wins in a week and making it unbeaten in March so far. I'm going to go 2-1, and I'm going to go with goals from Wesley Fofana and Mudryk. Let's see what we've got in the chat here. Ashraf going 3-0. I mean, that would be nice, mate. Really nice. Yeah, agreed, Dan. 2-1. KRF going for 1-1 draw. Ashraf going Mudryk first goal as well. Yeah, I'd like to see Mudryk, excuse me, first goal. That for sure. Peslord going 2-1 as well. But yeah, guys, that seems like a pretty good point to round out. Thank you for tuning in as always. Thanks for getting involved in the chat. Make sure you smash the likes on the stream, subscribe to the channel, check out the opposition preview with Leicester fan Jack from the Final Whistle up on the channel now. I'll be back tomorrow with a matchday vlog from the King Power Stadium. And then depending on what time I get back, there may well be a match reaction stream. If not, that'll be on Sunday. So, guys, make sure you stay tuned for the post-match Leicester content. Check out the opposition preview, smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Have a good day tomorrow. Let's hope Chelsea make it 3 wins in a week. Take care, guys. Up the Chelsea. Catch you again soon.